is university really like? I could sit here and talk about all these influencers posting on Instagram and everything about the amazing campus and all the friends they get to hang out with and these crazy professors they have and all these things that they're learning. But how do they have all this free time to hang out and go to these restaurants with their friends? How do they have all this money to go to these schools? And it's really just rich parents for most of these institutions. And it's just a rich person circle jerk for almost every elite school out there. And yeah, university can be great, if you have lots of friends, you have quite a bit of free time, but you also have no money and a very stressful workload most of the time. And for me, it was a terrible experience for me because I had almost no friends in my program and I had a very long commute, not very long, about an hour, and I was in a pretty difficult program. I studied physics, and I'm not a super genius or anything. I just thought it was a very interesting topic. I think it would have been a great time if I had a lot of friends. If I lived on campus, I think it would have been amazing. But I didn't. I had no friends. But I could talk about that for a long time. I could talk about how terrible it was socially, how isolating it was. But that's not really the point. The point is, does it educate you? Did I get a good education? I would absolutely say no. And for me at least, I would always hear people older than me, just wait till you get to grade 6 math. Then it really gets hard. Wait till you get to grade 12 physics. That's when things get serious. And every year up, it always felt the same to me. I felt like it always scaled with my abilities, and it never felt much harder. And when I got to university, I wasn't expecting much from the 100 level courses. I wasn't terribly disappointed. I would always tell myself that the 200 level courses would be different, and they would be more in depth and be more what I was looking for in my university experience. And when that didn't happen at 200, I knew it would be 300. And then when that didn't happen at 300, I knew it had to be 400. And when the 400 is when I started to lose hope. That's when it sort of fell apart for me. It was always the same, and it really felt more like high school. It didn't feel like the things I was learning I was being challenged to learn. It was more they would make tests really difficult to just try and make it harder than it really is. But I think most people could get could study physics if these tests weren't arbitrarily hard. I don't think these concepts that we learn are exceptionally difficult um, for the most part, and I think most people could figure them out, but they make it inaccessible for whatever reason. Anyways, don't think the point is I don't think I really know that much physics. They just made it really hard. But to be honest, there was one course that I think could have been, it was a 400 level course. I think it could have been a lot closer to what I was expecting in university for university level physics, but I did not take it because I just couldn't fit it into my schedule. That could have changed it for me, but well, I will never know. And to be honest, I think probably medical school or dental school would kind of provide the experience that I'm talking about, where they really it's not just about taking tests and like these professors throwing slides at you and you're just forced to memorize most of these things. It's really you have these professors and TAs to really train you how to do the thing that you came to learn. And I think I think probably medicine or dentistry are the only programs that would be like that. I'm not even 100% sure. I just assume it'd be something closer to that. But anyways, like for example, for how arbitrary some of these courses are, if you want to be an engineer in Canada, you need to get a bachelor's in engineering. And the course requirements for that are basically the entire program, right? So if you want to be a mechanical engineer, you have to basically take these very specific courses. You only have about 4 or 5 electives you can take throughout your entire 4-year program if you want to become a mechanical engineer with a bachelor's degree. However, and if you don't take these courses, then you won't be able to be certified as an engineer. You won't be able to graduate. So you need to take all of these courses in order to become an engineer. But to get a master's in engineering and then work as an engineer, all you need is a bachelor of science or a bachelor of engineering. So you can take none of the courses that are required to you to become an engineer at the bachelor for a bachelor's degree and just do a science degree in something like psychology and biology, and then still proceed to do a master's in engineering where you only study or do a thesis-based master's where you only work for like 1 or 2 years on your thesis or on some courses, and then you can become an engineer after that. So what is the point of these bachelor level courses? Really nothing. It's all arbitrary. It's more of just a pyramid scheme. And when I went to study physics, I thought it was one of the hardest sciences, not in terms of difficulty, well sometimes in terms of difficulty, but the most pure science where all the rules always applied, the most fundamentals. And I considered doing a master's or something like that when I was in high school, but once I got into it, I realized I I learned it felt to me like some of these higher level concepts, some of these things, these research papers that were coming out are just completely useless. They almost have nothing to do with physics. They seem mostly made up, and that was kind of confirmed to me um, by this YouTuber. I think her name is Sabine Hossenfelder. She's a physicist, and she talked about her experience as a grad student in physics, and she basically explained that she wanted to do um, like a true physics experiment, but she could not get funding because it was not a experiment or a part of physics that would generate any money, which is why all these physics papers are just about like CERN and these particles, because those are the things that get money and get grants. But these things are basically completely useless. They have no meaning, no value. I'm not even sure what the point of researching them is, but they bring in the money. So all this combined just kind of goes to show how much of a lie university is, and it's all fake. And we really look up to all these elites and all these elite schools at Harvard, like Harvard, and it's it's all just a facade. Are these students? Do these schools create successful students because they're good schools, or because they have an absolute ton of successful people attending them? And I think the answer is completely obvious. How can a school make a graduate so much more wealth? They they simply cannot be teaching that differently. I just don't believe it. There's this other YouTuber, Professor Jiang. You've probably all heard of him. He's really blowing up now. And he went to Yale, and he basically explained the exact same thing I'm explaining right now. And it's really validating to hear that. And he basically said that attending Yale was just like high school. And I feel completely the same with my experience. I didn't go to Yale, but I went to a top university in my country, and that was just very validating to hear. And now I know that it is a lie. I have basically no opportunity to get a career because I didn't make any connections with any successful people. And I know I'm not alone in this because of this clip from Professor Zhang's interview with Sneeko.
I think a lot of it is these are people who received an education and they're not happy with their education. And they've had some life experience and they're confused by how the world works. And so when they watch my videos, it's almost like a confirmation or validation of their doubt in the world. But I think you need a certain knowledge set. I think you need a certain experience in order to appreciate my teachings. So I'll give an example where, like it's possible like for one video I have 2 million views. Okay, so there are 2 million people watching my videos. In my class, my high school class, there are 2 students, guys. Okay, like there are no students. So yeah, there are 2 students in my class because they're too young. They're like 18. They don't know anything. They and they're happy-go-lucky. So most students find my class very depressing. But I feel as though that's what education is. Education is about self-annihilation in order to form a proper, more free understanding of how the world works. Basically destroy your brainwashing.
And I know a lot of people can relate to what he's saying in this clip, and that's pretty validating for me. But I'm still pretty devastated with how the world finding out that the world is a lie, and I like a bachelor's degree is the education that most people go into careers with, and now that's something that I have, and I don't feel like it is the reason for me to get a good career. I don't think it really did much for me. So now I can clearly see that most of modern society is just a lie. Like these jobs are basically all made up, they're all useless, and COVID kind of illuminated that as well. But it's just been very validating to see things like this and know that I'm not alone, but it's still pretty crushing. But yeah, I just wanted to rant about that. Thanks for sticking around to the end.